Despite the increased numbers of homicides reported up to the end of March, National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says the country is not experiencing a spike in murders. In an interview with our news center, Mr. Chang explains that the police have been focusing on reducing gang violence, but the latest murders are actually acquaintance violence. Sandra Williams has the details.
According to police statistics, from January 1 to March 30 this year, the country recorded 368 murders compared to 351 for the corresponding period in 2020. That's 17 more murders, equating to a 5% increase. Despite the numbers, National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says the country is not experiencing a spike in murders. He explains that although inter-gang killings are down, the latest spate of murders has been particularly traumatic.
They're not spiking yet, but it is what we're having is some very traumatic activity, especially as it relates to acquaintance violence. Acquaintance violence is more, interfamily acquaintance is more traumatic because when it happens, everybody can identify it. Could it happen to me? And that's what traumatizes the psyche of the people.
The security minister adds that the recent incidents of people being killed by persons known to them are worrying, and it will require high-quality policing to prevent other such deaths. Dr. Chang notes that while there has been significant emphasis placed on reducing gang violence, the police will now have to give more attention to acquaintance violence.
The increase in what is acquaintance violence is particularly worrying. It will require not only extremely high-quality policing and some changes in terms of how we approach. There's policy to cover it, but in the execution, we have to look at how we deal with that now, because while we keep men deployed to deal with the gangs, we'll have to be very sensitive to complaints when we receive them in terms of the potential for acquaintance violence.
He says there's also a need to increase the number of police personnel available to deal with such violence.
You could see in the case of the individual who was chopped in a square, I forget exactly which square, a police was nearby, and that reflects also the need to have more of our manpower deployed in certain spaces. We have expanded recruiting, or we have expanded the facilities by training, and therefore expect over the next 2 to 3 years to really get our numbers to where it should be, so there can be more officers in the critical spaces.
Recently, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said in the short term, his government is depending on the zones of special operations and hopefully the return of the states of public emergency to address Jamaica's crime problem.